Hey guys, BJ back with another deck guide for you, and today I'm bringing you my Azrael Teleport deck. So we have finally kind of got to the end of the campaign and unlocked all the legendaries and everything. I've pretty much got a full collection now. As some of you know, I've probably seen, I did a Miracle Asmodai deck, which is what mainly carried me this season with Darkangels. I really love that deck. It's super difficult to play, but it's super powerful and just a hell of a lot of fun. But now we've finally got all the cards, I can actually do the Azrael stuff as well. So I know there's been a few versions out there, but I wanted to bring you my version and give you my thoughts on the deck. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Azrael and kind of where I see the Warlords comparison and stuff like that. So if you're not interested in that and you want to just jump into the games, I will signpost, I will timestamp, sorry, the video, so you should be able to see the games below. But first up, let's have a look at the deck and talk a little bit about the Warlords. Okay, so first of all, I've had quite a few people asking me what do I think to Azrael. What do I think to the Darkangels, the power level, how do the Warlords compare? And there's all sorts of thoughts going through my head about it. So I think one of the things that I would say is when we talk about meta decks, I was thinking about adding this to the meta report, which is how difficult the deck is to play. So not just talking about the power level, oh this is tier 1, but is it an easy deck to pilot to that power level, a moderate or difficult? And I would say that the thing about Azrael Teleport is I would say this is a tier 1 deck. And in addition to that, I would say it's easy. Now that's a really big deal, because when you get a tier 1 deck that's easy, it basically means that more people can pick it up and kind of pilot it at a high win rate and high power level. So even if you take Junith, for example, everyone's moaned about how bonkers Junith is, and it is. Like there's so many broken cards in that deck. I would even say there's more broken cards in that in the Junith than there is in this deck. But one thing I would say about Junith is to play at the highest level, it actually isn't easy. There's quite a bit you need to know, that you need to kind of like do differently. And I know this firsthand because, I mean, I've posted already a 3.8k score with Junith in the first couple of weeks of December. I've not even played it since. My teammate, Sammael, is, in my opinion, the best Junith player in the game. And he posted a 4k score in the first 5 days. Now, I don't think anyone's ever done that. He stopped playing on day 5. And quite frankly, if he'd carried on with the play rate that he was doing, he had a 95% win rate. He would be, I dread to think what score he could have posted with Junith this season, like 7,000. I don't know, it would have been insane. And watching Shrigma play Junith, like, made you realise, and I've done a bit of sort of coaching with him, and there's so much complexity to that deck. The Azrael deck, I feel like this is a meta deck, this is a different thing. This is quite a straightforward, relatively easy deck to play. Now, I would say that Belial versions, if you look at Long Timmy, for example, he's just released a Belial deck. I would say the Belial is requires more luck than Azrael. Azrael's more consistent. Funnily enough, a Belial deck that's quite similar to this is actually probably more powerful in terms of its power ceiling, but it requires luck in order to reach that power ceiling. And again, if you're playing a ladder deck where you're playing hundreds of games, luck is not necessarily the thing you want to rely on, it's more consistency. So I would say that the power level's higher in Belial, potentially, but overall, Azrael is better because of the consistency. And then I would say that Asmodai, the Miracle deck I'm thinking of specifically that I made, and I've got a few versions of that. I'm probably going to do another video, actually, because I've got about 4 versions of it. But I would say that that is a hard deck to play. So if Azrael is easy, the Asmodai Miracle is hard. But the power spike on that, like, I've beaten Azrael decks when I've played that deck well. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, it's luck. No, it's not luck when you build a deck to do what Miracle deck is doing. You just need to understand what the miracles are. You can't say it's luck because you draw into a card, guys. When you're playing 7 cards that give you card draw, and you're playing for secrets, which one of the 5 is also draw. That's the point of the deck. That's not luck. So I would say that, you know, the Asmodai deck is just hard. It's hard to pilot, but the power ceiling in that is really, really good. So overall, if you're looking for just a deck to climb ladder with Darkangels, this one is it, because it's high power and it's easy. Alright, so let's jump in and take a look at the deck. Now, there are only really 2 cards in here for me that are up for debate, if I'm honest. And those 2 cards are the company veterans. And I added these in afterwards, so for those who are interested, and if you don't like this card, what I actually ran previously to that was I had a second Sergeant Taaman, and, quite simply, a second Landspeeder Vengeance. So there you go. If you want the original version of this deck, that's kind of what I had, if you don't like the veterans. I'll tell you the reason why I put these in, is that if you look at the curve, we actually don't have any 3-drops that are proactive. I found that you can kind of get away with not playing something on turn 1, although we already had, like, you know, Answers in Grim Resolve, and then we had the Bikes, a Taaman, essentially 3 Taamans with the Rock. So I felt like you had enough 4-drops. We've got so many 4-drops, it's unbelievable. So that's why I felt like with a Landspeeder Vengeance, as good as this is, you're going to have situations with this deck where, because you're a board building deck, you will have something on board, and this will be a little bit useless. So that's why I dropped that down to 1, and that allowed me, and I dropped 1 Taaman, and that allowed me to put 2 veterans in. Now, why veterans over librarians? To be honest, guys, if you wanted to go with the librarians, you can. I just don't think it plays into what this deck's trying to do. Those 3 drops that sacrifice attacking to essentially prey and get quests. I mean, this deck's not trying to do that. It's not trying to get secrets and all that sort of stuff. It's purely about trading effectively, building a board. It reminds me a bit like a Swarm or Tyranny type of build, the old school ones. I realised that those 3 drops are very good 3-drops, but less what this deck's needing. And what I found with the veterans is that they actually serve 2 purposes in this deck. One is that they enable the deck to go longer if you need, because you've got vanguards and that can protect your health, etc. But also, you're going to have these turns where often in the mid game you have these like big units that they've come on, they've clashed with something, and they've just got like a couple of points of health left. And that's actually surprising. If you can drop a cheap vanguard, you can often like make those units survive another turn, which is often just enough to win the game. This can be devastating for the opponent who's trying to trade with you. So those are the kind of 2 reasons why I felt like the company veteran played quite nicely into the deck, and that's why I'm running 2 of them. So the rest of the deck quickly. Of course, we've got Azrael. We've got the Grim Resolves for removal. We don't have many pings in this deck, so the Grim Resolve's actually pretty good in there. We do have the Bikes, which, again, they're not amazing. Like, the whole game +1, it's not... This is a card that I could potentially see me dropping, but again, in a pinch, it gives you 2 more damage in a flanking scenario as well. We have got, like I said, the 3 Taamans, essentially. We've got 1 Taaman and 2 Rocks. And obviously, the Rocks give us flexibility. There are certain matchups, like Gordrang, for example, where we might want to use the heal. Or if we've managed to get a couple of decent-sized units down, we might find the heal is better. Basically, never really take this option here. But essentially, you can look at that as like 3 Taamans. Black Knight, one of the best flankers in the faction. Company Veteran, I've already talked about those. Deathwing Assault, this card might be one of the cards that's broken in the faction. I mean, it's super impressive. Like, you can do crazy things with this card, like playing a unit and then the same turn playing this. Those teleport units that come out at the wrong time and you end up playing them vanilla without the teleportation, then you just play this and trigger the teleportation anyway. It's super good. It's like a massive buff to the board. It heals your troops. It's just kind of got everything packaged in for a pretty reasonable price. It's a very powerful card, that guy. It's a really good finisher. Deathwing Terminators. I mean, these are just good 4-drops to just drop, right? Like, that stat line is really, really great to just drop, I think. Trades down really, really well. But the extra teleport ability to deal 2 damage, a little mini AoE early game, is really good. It's not as great late game, but it's pretty good. Although, in the late game, you can use Azrael's power to give this a permanent +1/1, so it becomes a 4/4. So, it's a pretty good card, to be honest. Now, the Inner Circle Companion, I think this is a fantastic 4-drop. Funnily enough, like in this deck, it's like, often you don't need it if you do get like the Terminators out, but I think it's still really good, solid, proactive 4-drop as a back. You know, if you weren't happy dropping a Landspeeder Vengeance for the 3-drop, you could drop one of the Inner Circles, but I went with the proactive drop instead. Master Lazarus is just, again, a very, very solidly statted unit, and it's essentially like another threat that's similar to the Deathwing Assault, so you can kind of go after re-hitting those teleport units. The Unwavering Zeal is kind of like the small AoE, kind of becoming accustomed that every faction sort of has one of these now. The Scorcher Assault with the Orcs, the Purifying Flames with the Sisters, and now we get the Unwavering Zeal. This thing's pretty good because like your opponent can't kind of do things with stealth units to mess up which 3 you hit. So it's kind of got pros and cons, but overall it's very, very good. The Deathwing Knight is also a really interesting card because having the 2 armor is a really big deal. Like, the other 5-drop that we got, the Blade Guard Veteran, is a card that I've decided I don't like that card. I actually think that, even though it's got 2 range attack, I think with only 1 armor, it's just not good enough. Like, it loses your tempo. I will say that the Deathwing Knight, I did lose a game, I would say because of this card. It was against GSC where I played this, and then on his turn 6 he used his 6-drop flanker to clear it, and that you've got to think a little bit about what your opponent might follow up with, because that is such a tempo loss if something hits this back with like a 6-7 range damage and you're not traded. But otherwise it's really pretty impressive in this deck, right? We can put it to the top when we want it. It's almost like a finisher. It can come down and hit face the turn it comes on, or remove something important. So overall, pretty good card. And then we got the Talonmaster. Now this card is really interesting. This is a card that I massively misjudged when I first looked at it, and it's just a card that I've really come to respect. Like, it's so solid. It really fills a gap. This agenda, which basically says deal 3 damage to all enemies in stealth and they lose stealth, that is a really powerful effect, guys. Like, it's a big hole in the... It fills a big hole in the faction, in the deck, which is that kind of anti-stealth, and I just think that's superb. And when you're not using that, you've still got yourself a well-statted kind of flanking 5-drop, which is never a bad thing. So overall, I think this card is just a really solid card, and yeah, I think it should probably be in every single Dark Angel because of the 5 cost. It's like you can play it in low to the ground, you can play it in control. I mean, you just should be in every single deck, really. It's just that good. The Strikemasters, I really loved these cards. They're kind of one of the reasons for playing this kind of Azrael Teleport deck. This is definitely one of the cards you really want to be using Azrael's ability to make sure that it comes down when you want it, i.e. usually on E6. Again, if you're playing against this faction, you want to be accounting for that. It's super powerful, guys. I mean, the permanent buff to your Warlord alone is really strong. I find that this card is a true kind of like mid-range powerhouse. Like, it pretty much outstats most of the 6-drops when it comes down with the teleport, and it leaves your opponent in this horrible place where they like need some hard removal. Now, if you're something like Orcs and you've got mucking about or something, and you can kind of go, okay, I'll trade that for that, and that works out in the Orcs' favor. But a lot of units, like think about the mirror match. Like the mirror match, like the Dark Angels have got hard removal costs 7 energy. 7 energy. So it's a really bad trade in that sense. And that's why I think Strikemaster is really interesting, because it's a big unit, but it only costs 6. It's not like an 8 or a 9 where hard removal kind of takes back tempo. It's like, it's that awful middle ground when your opponent kind of doesn't want to spend hard removal on it, because they know you're just going to take the board back, but they kind of have to because it's just big enough to do so. I think it's a great unit. It survives a lot of flankers, and yeah, it's very strong. It wins a lot of games. Ezekiel, I'm still... This card just looks like better on paper than I'm getting value from it at the minute. I do think it's good. I think coming down with camouflage and a shield, that alone on a big body is really powerful. Like, your opponent has to deal with it with trading, and that's just not easy. Even if they're going after the 4 flank, with a shield and 6 health, that's still not easy. And of course, if you want, you get this kind of extra Master Terminator spell, but you don't have to use that. It does say if the target dies, gain 2, so that ability there is not really for this deck, but that's more for a secret building deck. But again, if you just need the kind of... You can use this to go to enemy face, you could use this to get lethal, so just got to assess whether you need it or not. Don't feel forced to use it though. We've got Deadly Hunters. Guys, I mean, I think this is probably the best. Is it the best? Yeah, I think it's probably the best legendary in the faction. I mean, it's really good, because it belongs in every deck. Like, the Deathwing Assault's super powerful, but it obviously belongs more in a teleport deck. Whereas the Deadly Hunters is just deadly in any deck. It's a phenomenal spawned on steroids, they should call this. Not too far behind is Sammael. I think Sammael's really cool. It's kind of like the long strike. It reminds me of long strike a little bit. It's the big kind of like he's a hard removal on a stick, isn't he? Let's be honest. You know, coming on with that 9 flank, it's just super powerful. And then he kills something, and then he gives you a vehicle, right? And that vehicle could be a Land Raider, which comes out. It could be another Sammael, it could be the 8-chop stun, it could be anything, or just one of the flankers. So most of the vehicles are pretty good. So I think Sammael's fantastic, and he's even got this kind of Master of Maneuver, which is cool, because what I love about this is that often you don't use it, but say your opponent stuns Sammael, that's the way they're going to deal with him, because they haven't got the removal, they're going to stun him. Well, then you just use Master of Maneuver to pick up the stun Sammael and then play him again, and it just plays around stun really well. In fact, this is a really good blueprint for some anti-stun type of cards, which I think we should probably see a little bit more of. And then last but not least, we've got the big bad Deathwing Knight Masters. I think this card in this deck is worth it, guys. If you're wondering, I mean, I've played 2 of them. I think it's good to have that consistency. It's okay. You can get away with having one of these just drawn into your hand. And knowing there's another one in the deck which you're looking for the teleport, and just never play the one in your hand if you want, or wait. If you get dragged into the late game, obviously you could play this and play a trigger like a Deathwing Assault or something. But I do think that the threat of having this come down with your Azrael putting it to the top of the deck, it's really great, guys. I mean, it's got everything, right? He's got an AoE built in there. He's got the +3 to all friendly units. That includes your Warlord, guys. So you know it's not uncommon to have a Warlord up to 6 melee attack with this guy in there, and just the armor as well just makes him an absolute beast. Even if people are just trying to attack his ranged 0 range attack with 9 health and 2 armor, I mean, good luck. Like that's a lot to get through. So. And they have to kill it, otherwise it's just, you know, it's game over the next turn. So this guy is a really good finisher, and I think without this guy, I think the problem this deck might have is there might be certain decks that can just like drag it into the late game and sort of deal with it. But I feel like with the Knight Masters in there, like opponents just can't really turn a corner against it. Like it just gives you power in that late game too. So you won't always need this for sure, but I think it belongs in the deck, to be honest. I think it's a very, very powerful card. So overall, guys, that is the deck. Obviously, you want to be looking to build a board with this deck and keep the board. So we don't have tons of AoE, so we really want to be trying to hit those Taamans on 2, looking for the kind of like company veterans, or if we're playing a fast deck, looking for some removal in like the Black Knights and the Grim Resolve. That's pretty much your early game. And the main thing is you want to be obviously not keeping your teleport units, so we're trying to throw those away. It's okay to keep Lazarus. It's even okay to keep 1 Deathwing Terminator if you're particularly worried that you might draw something else. You know, obviously we want to try and avoid getting our Deathwing Knight Masters and our Strike Masters in our opening mulligan, so we should be thinking about that when we're being cowboy gung-ho, like throwing things back, that we could end up drawing these, and that's not what we want. The mulligan's a little bit less straightforward potentially than other decks, which is worth me saying, since as I said this was an easy deck. But other than that, like, it's just all about playing out on curve really, and then using Azrael to try and put the right thing to the top of your deck. So that's the deck, guys. Let's have a quick look at a couple of games and get into a few live matches, etc. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. Alright, so yeah, I'm just going to show you this one. This is a mirror match, so you kind of really do get to see 2 versions of it, and this is one of the top players as well, so good to sort of see. So okay, here like we get rid of the Knight Master. I'm going to keep the other 2. We've kind of got a proactive drop and a reactive to control his board. Quite a nice opening hand. And we get the rock as well, so we've got another proactive drop as well there, so perfect. Now we are going first, so of course we're going to go ahead and just play out the rock, give us a Taaman. That teleport animation, isn't it just fire? And we use Azrael to basically put ourselves in a circle champion, I believe, to the top of the deck. Okay, so he plays the rock, which is a nice answer. Stealth going second after a stealth is really good. This is a good example though where the company veteran comes in. The company veteran counters the stealth counter, if that makes sense. So yeah, he's now would have a nice opportunity to pick off our Taaman, but instead he can't do that because of the Vanguard. And if it had been say a librarian, then he would have been able to do that. So I mean, it's all, you know. And he also does this, look, he has to play the hero power. I mean, it's kind of like a bit of a tempo loss to do that. So we're really happy, especially because we've got this powerful 4-drop to follow up. We're kind of like really getting ahead on board here. Really nice opening from us. He goes ahead and has an inner circle too. So it's, again, you know, he's seen from both hands, like, that ability to fight early tempo, like really solidly started. Now here we go, the Talonmaster comes on. And this is what I was talking about, guys, this anti-stealth. Anti-stealth, I mean, so making him pay. We can take that out with Azrael, and now we've got a 3-to-1 board. And then we can just go ahead and Vanguard up, right? Now that does force him to kind of bring out a flanker. And he plays this card. I mean, you could run that, that's fine. It's not a bad card. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Now, Azrael this time brought out a 2-drops, so we can actually play all of our 2-drops here. The Grandmaster buffing 3 units, I think he's worth it, you know. And then you get Grim Resolve just to polish that off, and actually that's going to put our first secret in the deck. Oh, it's quite nice as well with this deck that you can put like 2 or 3 secrets in the deck, and so it's not a secret heavy deck, but they can still come in clutch when you do draw one. So it's quite kind of nice. You just don't rely on them. That's basically the main. Okay, so now he returns the favour. You're seeing this anti-stealth, and obviously that's going to kill a Taaman. And he goes with a 50-50 on the turret. I'd say 50-50. Maybe he preferred it hitting that. I'm not sure, because obviously he trades now. Okay. Now I thought about quite a few ways of doing this, and I think in the end I decided to maintain health. Now, I'm not sure if that's right. Like, I think with 37 health we probably could have just taken damage. But I think the thinking was like, just create like a really big gap in health, and try to, knowing that we've got Sammael coming here and that's going to give us another unit, and then we're going to be into. I kind of felt like I could kind of race him at this stage. I think that was the thinking, but I could easily see you kind of like just trading the 5 health and keeping the Black Knight alive. And look at this as well, like he's gone with this mega buff here on the health to try and get something to stick, and there's only 1 unit that counters that. And if he's looking at the mana curve, he should kind of be accounting for the fact that Sammael's next. And so we've really got the hard punish for him there. I mean, to be fair to him, like anything else would have been really difficult for us to remove. But we got the hard thing. So we're going to get Lazarus there. And we've also got the Dark Talon. So if he'd have carried on, we could have stunned him there and taken that out. Alright, so you can kind of saw like some of the things we talked about there in the deck guide. Let's just turn off the bots, by the way. You saw some of the things we talked about there in the deck guide, like really come to play, like the anti-stealth and the way that the teleport thing works. So yeah, let's jump into some games. Alright, we got Erica. So we want to get rid of the Strikemaster. The rest of it's a very good keep. We're not going to give him extra cards here because we're kind of happy with his hand. Oh boy, good start. Have we lost our opponent before we even started? Maybe he just knew we were recording a video and he thought, let's just mess the video up. Let's just really frustrate DJ's viewers with a disconnect straight out the gates. Brilliant. Oh, that was an easy win, wasn't it, boys? Let's go again, shall we? Okay, a Belial match. So not the greatest opening hand, although it just got a little bit better, so that's good. I feel like we might need some type of flank here, actually. I think we'll just kind of go for a secret here. West point, towards the secret, should I say. Probably going to be playing the one drop here. Yeah, I think we are. Oh, now we get the 3 drop. I mean, we're going to be wanting to play Lazarus next. So... or do we take the inner circle? I think we take the company veteran here for potentially 5 to... or a later game blocker. I think I'm happy just Lazarus in this, to be honest. Do we want to attack? It's interesting as well, selecting the Deathwing Terminator there on 5. Sometimes think like that card might be, he's often better coming down later. It's not always great on 5. Ooh, run Stubborn Defiance. I like that card with Belial. Okay. Yeah. This is not... like, it's not like amazing, right? Like... do we still do it, or do we get rid of that? I mean, how worried are we about this? Right, this is going to go down to 4. That could put me down. That's still only doing 1 damage a turn. I think I'm just going to drop this, you know. He is going to try and tackle it. Although, he can't actually finish this off, can he? I mean, he's such a beast, that thing. We want to just take this out. I think so. I think we can just take this out. I think we can play it a bit slower. Probably should have got the little one drop out rather than buffing this. Although, you know, it's now 6. It's now 6 damage, isn't it? If he trades with Belial. I don't imagine he will. I think this is going to be. If he hasn't got the Grim Resolve, it's probably a flanker that invests into that. I could be wrong. Okay, making good use of the melee attack from this. That's kind of nice. It's not great curve-wise, but I don't want to waste Deadly Hunters there. We've also got this crazy turn next turn, like where we can Terminator and Deathwing Assault, if this somehow survives. Oh my god. Just landed it. See, this is what I mean about luck with Belial. Like, if you get this off with Belial, you're definitely hitting the luck draw for sure. Oh my god, wait a minute. We play this now. We do, right? I mean, do we just hit him in the face here, or do we actually clear this? I think we still clear this, right? With rain. Bonkers, 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 bonkers. That combination is just around this turn in the game, right, where you can play a Deathwing Assault with another teleport. And it really, if you're playing against this deck, it really should be making you think very long and hard about leaving a teleport deck on the board around this turn, because knowing that he could then essentially get a second teleport down with that spell is, well, talk about a win con, guys. That ain't gonna do it. Yeah. Wowzers. Wowzers, wowzers, wowzers. Oh god, have we got another disconnect? Do people just know I'm trying to film today? Not good. Shadowsun. So, like, this is a hand where you could kick the Deathwing, but you could also keep the Deathwing as a proactive 4-drop. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it, because, like, I don't want to risk getting a, you know, one of the other teleporters, the 6 or the 9-drop, for example. When that's perfectly okay to play on that curve, it's perfectly okay to play as a proactive 4-drop. We're just going to drop the bike here just to take the attention off and force him to spend the 1 energy as well, which we'd be quite happy about. Now, we have got a Black Knight, but... And we've also got the other flanker, the Landspeeder Vengeance, so we probably don't need the second Black Knight. The Grim Resolve... I'm actually going to go with Ezekiel, because... Or do we want the Grim Resolve? Yeah, I've got the defense turrets though, right? I think I'm going to go with Ezekiel. Just going to agenda with this guy. And the turn back. Okay, he goes dynamic offensive and doesn't bother with killing this guy. Fair enough. Question is now, do we want to... I want to play a proactive Black Knight here. Okay, not a flanker. That's good. I'll hold on to that. One of the advantages of it being random is that you can target stealth units with it. I know people see random and they often think bad, but I think most people would agree no mucking about is better than the Marine one. Inspired Retribution. I think what we do here, you take the randomness out of it, right? You attack with the melee here. No, this is the guarantee going to hit that. Then we look for Strikemaster. Term, actually. I don't know. Not sure about that. What would you have done there? Would you take the Terminator? Oh, the other Terminator. Oh, well, we're happy with our choice now, eh? I mean, I say that. Maybe Ezekiel's just better. Oh, it's still in stealth, isn't it? Yeah. Do we want this? Or do we want this? I think we might want this, actually. Because we've got the... If we need, like, flanking removal, we've got the... Right. So playing this is bad because it's not good use of curve. I think it is just Deadly Hunters here. One, two, three. It's fine. This will be lovely next turn. Did he actually draw a flanker from his... Oh, is this one? No. Okay, so we're just going to drop this, basically, and then play this. We're in a big buff. Nice. I think I'll just take this out with this. And we'll just put some damage on Shadowsun. Oh. $11 plus 3 is 14. 15. So we'd be one off lethal. Does long strike even kill this thing? Oh, it's stunned anyway, right? Fair enough. Boom. Down goes Shadowsun. Alright guys, so there you go, there is the deck. Like I say, I think this deck is tier 1 right now. It's pretty easy to play, which, you know, I don't know if that's a good thing, to be honest. I like it when the tier 1 decks are actually quite complicated to play. Like I say, I think that the other Warlords are very decent as well. But this is probably like the easiest deck to just pick up and do well on ladder with. So, like I say, the main thing, if you wanted to flex some cards, I would suggest like you could play around with. I've got those 2 company veterans. I think that's probably the slot. It's quite 4-drop heavy as well, so I could see you like dropping another 4-drop if you wanted. But other than that, I really do think the rest of the deck is pretty locked in, to be honest. One card that you might be wondering about, which a few people have asked me about, is the 7-drop, which is this card here. Now, the thing with this Deathwing champion, I actually think this might be better. Bizarrely, this might actually be better in a deck that's like looking to top out at 7, like looking to sort of win the game by E7, E8, which is a slightly faster deck than this one that I'm running. I actually think that this could be a little bit of a liability in the current deck that I'm running. I haven't tested it much, so I could be wrong, but I just find that like the time you want to play this, you're not yet quite at that point where it would be a finisher, where you would win the game. And if it's not a finisher, then I feel like the stats are just a bit vulnerable to, you know, the sort of 0. You know, because think about the 9-drop, right? This has got 0 range. It's only got 1 armor and 7 health. This can be cleared, and if it is cleared against range, that's a huge tempo swing. Whereas the 9-drop comes with a shield. It's got 2 shield with 9 health. That's actually a big difference. It's actually really difficult to clear it still without hard removal, and that's kind of like my thinking. Now, I'm not prepared to say that this is a bad card. I just think that it belongs in a different speed of deck to the one I'm running. So I've decided not to run it. I mean, you would absolutely drop one of the 4-drops and test one of these. You know, it's probably not going to harm you, to be honest. So give it a shot. I just don't feel it quite makes it for me. But other than that, like I say, I'm pretty happy with this deck. So let me know in the comments what you think. If there are any surprises in here that you weren't expecting to see, what you like about the deck, or if there's any changes that you suggest, let me know in the comments. So yeah, guys, there is my Azrael Teleport deck. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you very much for the support. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck on ladder.